A scene of an abandoned factory. It is in disrepair, some gunshots are shown, and then an explosion occurs, blowing holes in the walls of the building. In the next scene, a man named Robert is called from school, because his adopted son is Eli. Gets into trouble for fighting. The third time he has done so, Ellie is also suspended from school for fighting. After that, Eli returns to his home, and cannot find his father. He then goes to an abandoned building, with the aim of finding some aluminum and copper wires. Actually, Eli wants to buy new shoes by selling the wire, because his old shoes are really bad. He then approaches a wire salesman to buy his wires, and the seller replies that the wires he has brought are not enough money to buy new shoes, and that more wires will be needed. Hearing this, Eli runs towards the broken building, which was featured at the beginning of the film. When he reaches there, and starts wandering around, he senses the presence of other people in the building. After looking around for a while, Eli finds bodies on the floor. He was wearing a high-tech protective suit, and a modern and fully automatic gun near the bodies. He raises the gun, and it automatically activates. Meanwhile, one of the dead bodies tries to hold Eli's hand. Eli gets scared and runs towards his house. Upon reaching home, Eli finds his father waiting for him, and asks about his suspension from school. Eli claims that the child he attacked was talking bad about his mother. Robert tries to give his son advice, so that he can keep his head up. Robert told that his mother never wanted him to get involved in fights. Robert asked Eli to help him with his work, if he was not going to school. He also tells Eli that his older brother is Jimmy, coming out of prison 6 years later, and it is clear that there is tension on both Robert and Eli when it comes to Jimmy, so Robert urges Eli to stay away from Jimmy. Jimmy is Robert's real son, while Eli is his adopted son. Jimmy comes home, and has an awkwardly intense dinner with Robert and Ellie. Jimmy mentions that he is there for about a week or two. Robert does not like him, because he involves himself in illegal activities, like stealing, fighting, and taking drugs. Next, Jimmy attempts to bond with Ellie. Later, Jimmy goes alone to her former employer, a criminal named Taylor. Jimmy owes Taylor $60,000, and Taylor threatens to get it back from Robert or Eli. Jimmy gets scared after seeing Taylor with a machine gun. Jimmy says he does have the money, just not with it. Taylor then threatened her to go out and get the money for him. Meanwhile, Eli is dreaming of the high-tech machine gun he left in the abandoned building. He immediately gets up and runs towards the building at night. There he found that all the bodies were missing, and the gun was lying on the floor. Eli picks up the gun and explores various ways to damage it. After this, he keeps the gun inside his bag and returns to his home. But as soon as he reaches home, he sees Jimmy and Robert having an argument. Eli decides not to disturb them and enters his room from the backyard. He keeps the gun safely under his bed. During the argument between Jimmy and Robert, Jimmy tries to get Robert to give him $60,000 from his personal safe, so he can pay Taylor off in full. Hearing this from Jimmy, Robert gets angry. He refuses to do so, and even throws Jimmy out of the house, due to his involvement in illegal activities. Later, Robert also finds the wire stolen by Ellie, and he threatens her to return it, otherwise he will inform the police. It seems that Robert is very worried about Eli, and he does not want Eli to become a thief like Jimmy. Robert takes Eli with him to work, and also tells him that he is the most beloved son of both of them. But he notices something strange in his factory, and tells Ellie to wait in the car. He goes into his office to find Jimmy with Taylor, and his brother Dutch. While trying to break into the safe to steal the money, Jimmy urges Robert to leave, but Robert refuses. After a confrontation, Taylor becomes enraged and shoots Robert. Jimmy attacks Taylor, causing him to shoot Dutch. Robert dies on the spot, collapsing to the floor, and Jimmy runs to the trunk, while Taylor holds a dying Dutch in his arms. Taylor becomes angry at Jimmy, and begins chasing Jimmy with his men to kill him. Jimmy takes his share of the money and leaves with Ellie. Lied to him that father had some work in the office, and would return later. After reaching home, Jimmy tells Ellie that dad has given them permission for the holidays, and requests Ellie to take him with him. Eli feels some doubts about it, but doesn't pay much attention. He starts packing his stuff, and also packs the gun, which he found in the building. Jimmy and Ellie then run away, with Jimmy not telling Ellie what happened to Robert. As they leave the house, Taylor arrives at the house with his group of goons. They search every possible place to find Jimmy, but are unable to find him. Taylor becomes very angry, and orders his men that he wants Jimmy's head at any cost. The next morning, Jimmy and Ellie arrive at a restaurant, and stop there to get something to eat. After eating, Ellie starts playing games in the restaurant, and Jimmy starts changing his car's number plate, so Taylor can't find him. On the other hand, two men wearing high-tech protective suits are seen searching for a gun in the same abandoned building, where Ellie found it. Later, Ellie calls her father Robert, but the phone is not answered. Eli leaves a voice message for the father, telling him that he is sorry for the wire he stole, and also mentions that he loves him very much. Finally, Eli also mentions that he is with his brother Jimmy, and they are both going to Tahui. In the next scene, Taylor is seen listening to Ellie's voicemail, as she has stolen her mobile after Robert's death. He finds out where the two brothers are planning to go, and plans to follow them. At night, Jimmy takes Ellie to a strip club to hide out for a while. Even though Ellie is just 14 years old, Jimmy takes her to a strip club. They meet a dancer named Millie, who becomes friendly with them. However, Jimmy gets drunk, and begins to freshen up, tries to go on stage to dance with her. They all enjoy the moment, and Jimmy throws away a lot of money for the fun. Some people sitting at the next table are seen keeping an eye on Jimmy. When Jimmy gets out of hand, the club owner Lee goes to handle him with his bouncers, but Jimmy continues to act cocky, until he starts getting pounded. Eli runs to grab the gun, and threatens the bouncers. A falling pool cue startles him, and he fires the weapon at the table. From a distance, two helmeted figures detect the weapon being used, and its place too. Then both of them proceed towards the location in search of the gun. Jimmy, Ellie, and Millie all run out, but Jimmy forgets the bag with all the money at the club. The three stay at a motel for a while. At night, when Millie and Eli are together, Millie notices a mark on Eli's hand, and asks her how she got it. Eli replies that it is the mark that was given to him by his previous mom and dad. Millie also shares her part, and shows him the mark on her hand, which was caused by her mother and father's torture, which was the main reason she left her home, and joined the profession of stripper, in an adult bar. Later, the three of them return to the same bar, where Jimmy left the bag of money. Eli and Jimmy entered the bar showing guns, and ordered everyone present there to raise their hands. People who fought with Jimmy earlier are also present there. People knew about guns, so they follow every order. After Jimmy gets his bag, they both run to their car, but are pursued by men with guns. When Eli fires a mysterious gun at a car, it blown high into the air and crashes. This makes them afraid of attacking them, and the three of them, including Millie, go away. All of them seem very happy after getting their money back. Some time later, two armed soldiers arrive at the bar, tracking the location of the gun used for the first time. They take out an advanced device, which displays the person using the gun. In the next scene, inside the car, Eli is seen telling Millie that her father would not like what they have done. Meanwhile, Jimmy enters the car with coffee, and seems to have overheard Ellie's conversation. After that, the three of them arrive at a 5-star hotel. Jimmy seems a little upset, as he lied to Ellie about Robert's death. Jimmy tries to explain to Ellie about the situation, and the reality of her father, while Ellie is in the room, but Millie interrupts him. Here, we can see that Jimmy has started to care about his adopted brother. Jimmy leaves the room, after taking some money to play poker at the hotel. Later that night, Ellie learns of Robert's death through a television news broadcast. The news reports that Jimmy has murdered Robert, and he ran away with his money. Eli becomes very sad, and angry after hearing the news. He runs towards Jimmy, inside the poker room, now because Eli is just 14 years old, and no kids are allowed in the poker room, so the police begin chasing him. As he enters the room, Eli approaches Jimmy, and asks him why he killed his father. Jimmy denies the allegations, and says that he is innocent. At the same time, the police reaches the spot and arrests both of them. Since Eli is an innocent child, they leave him there, but take Jimmy with them. At the police station, Ellie asks the police officer for permission to talk to Jimmy. The police officer grants permission, and he is taken to Jimmy. There, Jimmy tells Ellie everything about the incident. On the other hand, Taylor learns of Jimmy's arrest on the news. After that, he orders his men to reach the police station with all the guns and equipment. Some time later, Taylor arrives at the police station with his men, and begins attacking the police officers. They locate Jimmy and attempt to murder him. After taking the keys from one of the injured police officers, Eli comes out with a gun, and blows up the goons, ensuring Jimmy's safety outside. The police are preparing for a standoff, while people wearing protective suits. The sweepers are rapidly breaking down the barricade. Jimmy and Ellie are on their way out, when they are stopped by the police, who orders them to stand down, just as Taylor locates Jimmy, and prepares to kill him. The sweepers arrive with a grenade, and throw it, causing time to stop for everyone except Ellie. Taylor has discharged his weapon, and the bullet is headed straight for Jimmy. Then the sweepers reveal that one of them is a man and a woman. The male sweepers explains to Ellie that there is a reason only he can handle, and uses the pistol. He cuts Jimmy off when he tries, and that's because Eli comes from the same dimension as the sweepers, where they can wield weapons and have remarkable powers. They assure Eli that he can join them when he is ready, and they return the weapons. The cleaning lady creates a portal to another world, but before they leave, she pushes the bullet towards Taylor's head. As the SWAT squad blasts open the door, Taylor is killed by a gunshot and time returns to normal. Jimmy is caught once again. Agent Morgan talks to Ellie, and informs her that Jimmy is leaving, but only for a short while. She asks what happened, but Ellie refuses to tell her. Then Millie turns up at Ellie's door. His hand lights with the same sign as the cleaner's when he sees her. And the movie ends here.